There is a driver out of Little Rock who spent 31 years hauling freight across all 48 states and retired with more than 3 million miles and not one preventable accident on his record. In 3 decades of blizzards, breakdowns, and 2 o'clock in the morning deliveries, his truck was towed exactly once, back in his second year. That record was not luck. It was a set of habits that veteran truckers hand down at fuel islands and loading docks the way families hand down recipes. In the next few minutes, you will get 7 of those habits, along with the 5 mistakes that undo them. And one of those mistakes seems so harmless that new drivers make it without a second thought. Yet it has ended more trucking careers than ice and fatigue put together. Now, you might be watching this because you drive for a living, or you used to, and you want to see how much of this matches what you learned the hard way. You might be thinking about trucking as a second career now that the kids are grown, or you might just find it fascinating how a person survives years alone on the road with nothing but a diesel engine and their own judgment. Either way, the people who figured this out learned it under real pressure, with real consequences, in a job where a single bad decision can end everything in about 4 seconds. And what they learned works far beyond trucking. So let's start with the rule that shapes every single day out there. Number 1, the 3 o'clock rule. Here is a fact that surprises almost everyone outside the industry. In America, there is roughly 1 legal truck parking space for every 11 drivers who need one. Every night, hundreds of thousands of trucks compete for spots that simply do not exist, which is why rest areas along the interstate look like packed steel sardine cans by 9 in the evening. The new driver runs until his legal hours are nearly gone, then starts hunting for parking in the dark, exhausted, circling crowded truck stops with a clock ticking down over his head. The veteran does the opposite. He plans the end of his day before the day starts. He knows which truck stops fill up by 5, which rest areas have overflow, and which quiet industrial lots tolerate a truck overnight. And if it comes down to a choice between driving 1 more hour or taking a guaranteed spot at 3 in the afternoon, plenty of old hands take the spot. One driver who ran produce out of California for 22 years put it this way. He said, "Miles pay the bills, but parking keeps you alive to collect them." The rookies chase the clock. The veterans chase the spot. But finding the spot is only half the job, because what you do in the first 2 minutes after arriving determines how your entire morning goes. Number 2, back in on arrival. Walk through any major truck stop at midnight and you can tell the veterans from the rookies by one detail: the direction the trucks are facing. The experienced driver backs into his space the moment he arrives while there is still daylight, while his mind is still sharp, while there is still room to maneuver, because he knows that at 4:30 the next morning, in the dark, with fresh trucks packed in tight on both sides, backing out of a hole is how mirrors get shattered and fenders get creased. He sets up his escape the night before, so the morning is nothing but release the brakes and pull straight out. And attached to this habit is a phrase drilled into every serious driver: get out and look. Before any backing maneuver, no matter how routine, the careful ones set the brakes, climb down, and walk the path their trailer is about to travel. It costs 90 seconds. A woman who hauled refrigerated freight through the Rockies for 15 years said she got out and looked over 10,000 times in her career, and about 200 of those times, she found something waiting in her blind spot: a pole, a ditch. Once, a man asleep on the pavement behind her trailer. 90 seconds, 10,000 times, 0 accidents. That is the math veterans live by, and once the truck is parked and aimed at the exit, the next battle begins, the one that happens inside the sleeper. Number 3, guard your sleep like it's cargo. The public thinks the hard part of trucking is the driving. The drivers know the hard part is the sleeping. A sleeper berth sits 10 feet from a parking lot full of idling diesels, refrigeration units cycling all night, and headlights sweeping across the curtains every few minutes. So the veterans engineer their sleep the way they maintain their engines. Heavy blackout curtains sealing off the cab, foam earplugs, or a steady fan for background noise. The bunk heater set cool, because a cold room puts a body down deeper than a warm one. Phone face down and silenced, because a glowing screen at midnight steals the exact rest that tomorrow's 300 miles will demand. One old hand who drove team with his wife for a decade kept a strict rule in their truck. The sleeper was for sleeping, nothing else. No eating in the bunk, no watching television in the bunk, no worrying in the bunk. He claimed his body learned the routine so well that lying down back there worked faster than any pill. And the reason this rule sits so high on the list is simple. Fatigue is involved in a huge share of serious truck crashes, and unlike ice or fog, it climbs into the cab quietly and rides along for hours before it makes its move. A rested driver catches things a tired driver never sees. But rest alone is not enough, because there is a slower threat that catches up with drivers over years instead of hours. Number 4, the cooler beats the buffet. Look at the food waiting for a driver at a typical fuel stop. Fried chicken under heat lamps, roller grill hot dogs turning since morning, cases of soda and candy stretching to the back wall. Eat that way for 20 years while sitting still 11 hours a day, and the road does to your body what it does to old pavement. Every veteran has watched a friend leave the industry on doctor's orders instead of his own, so the smart ones fight back with a 12-volt refrigerator plugged in behind the seat. Groceries from a real supermarket once a week. Rotisserie chicken, boiled eggs, fruit, sandwiches built in the passenger seat instead of bought at the counter. One driver out of Ohio who lost 60 pounds without ever missing a delivery said his entire method fit in one sentence. He shopped where the locals shopped and walked the truck stop parking lot for 20 minutes every night, rain or shine. The fridge cost him about $150 used. He figures it added years to his career and more to his life. And there is a quieter benefit the veterans mentioned too. A driver eating real food and walking every evening sleeps better, thinks faster, and stays calmer in traffic. Everything on this list feeds everything else. Which brings us to the habit that looks the most old-fashioned and matters the most. Number 5, the walk-around religion. Every morning, before the wheels turn, the veteran walks a slow circle around 70 feet of truck and trailer. He thumps each tire with a club and listens for the flat thud that means low pressure. He lays the back of his hand near each hub, feeling for the heat that means a bearing is dying. He tugs the fifth wheel connection, checks the airlines, reads the tread, looks under the trailer for anything hanging, leaking, or loose. 15 minutes, every day, thousands of days in a row. And he repeats a shorter version at every single stop, because a lot can happen to a trailer while its driver is inside paying for coffee. Seals get cut, tires pick up steel, cargo shifts. One flatbed driver from Georgia said his walkarounds caught 11 problems over his career that could have killed someone on the highway, including a brake chamber hanging by one bolt outside Amarillo. He never once regretted the 15 minutes. He said the drivers who skip the walkaround are gambling every day and calling it efficiency. If you're finding this useful, hit subscribe, because this channel covers street-tested survival knowledge like this every single week. Now, a perfect truck and a rested driver can still be beaten by the one opponent that outranks them both, the sky. Number 6, the load can wait. Every winter, the news shows the same footage. Jackknife trucks scattered along an icy interstate like dropped toys. And almost every one of those trucks was driven by someone who decided the schedule mattered more than the conditions. The veterans read weather the way sailors read water. They know a bridge deck freezes long before the road around it. They know that when the spray coming off other trucks' tires suddenly stops, the water on the road has turned to ice. They watch the temperature gauge like a heart monitor anytime it slides toward freezing. And they hold one belief so firmly it might as well be law. No load of freight ever built is worth a life. A Montana driver with 30 years of mountain winters said he shut down early maybe 40 times in his career, sat out storms and truck stops while other drivers rolled past him into the dark. Some of those drivers made their deliveries on time. Some of them are in the footage. He made every delivery of his life eventually, and he made it home every single time. Dispatchers can be unhappy. Funerals are worse. But shutting down in a storm creates its own problem, because now you are parked in brutal cold, possibly for days, and how you handle that is a survival skill all by itself. Number 7. Staying warm when the engine can't help you. In many states, a truck legally cannot idle all night for heat. Anti-idling laws carry real fines. And even where idling is allowed, a diesel drinking a gallon an hour turns a cold night into an expensive one. Bunk heaters solve this most of the time, but bunk heaters fail, usually at 2 in the morning, usually in January, usually somewhere like North Dakota. And an idling engine in deep snow carries a darker risk, because snow packed around an exhaust pipe can push carbon monoxide back into the cab while a driver sleeps. People die that way every winter, in trucks and in ordinary cars alike. So the veterans treat their bodies as the furnace and concentrate on trapping the heat instead of making it. Wool base layers instead of cotton, because wet cotton pulls warmth out of the body while wool keeps insulating. A knit cap, because an uncovered head bleeds heat all night long. A sleeping bag rated far below the coldest temperature they expect, layered under wool blankets, kept in the bunk year-round, even in July, because breakdowns don't check the calendar. Many keep a full winter kit behind the seat. Spare gloves, chemical hand warmers, candles and a lighter, high-calorie food, and enough water to wait out a closed interstate for 2 days. Quite a few of the older drivers also keep an emergency thermal bivvy in that kit, and honestly, it is a smart thing to have in any vehicle that sees winter, whether it weighs 80,000 pounds or 4,000. There is one called TerraShell that folds down smaller than a soda can, a full-body sleeping bag lined with a reflective layer that sends around 90% of your body heat back at you. No batteries, no fuel, no engine running. In a dead truck on a shut-down interstate, that is the difference between a rough night and a dangerous one. If you want one behind your own seat or in your glove box, the link is in the description below. One driver, stranded on a shut-down stretch of Wyoming highway for 31 hours in a dead truck, said his winter kit cost him less than a single tank of fuel, and it was the reason the story had a boring ending. Ask any old driver what nearly got him over the years, and the answer usually isn't traffic. It's cold, fatigue, and time. So those are the 7 habits. Follow them, and the road gets a whole lot safer. But there are 5 mistakes that can undo every one of them. And the first is one nearly every rookie makes in his first month. Mistake number 1, camping on the fuel island. A new driver pulls up to the pumps, fills $800 of diesel into his tanks, and then walks inside to shower, eat dinner, and browse the aisles while his truck sits blocking the pump. Behind him, a line of drivers on federal clocks watches their legal driving hours drain away, and every one of them is memorizing his truck number. This sounds like simple bad manners, but it's more than that. Fuel islands are where reputations are made, where fistfights start, and where fleet managers get phone calls. The professional move takes discipline. Fuel, pull forward to the marked stalls beyond the pumps, and then handle everything else. Veterans say you can judge a driver's entire career from 30 feet of pavement at the pump. Rude at the island usually means careless everywhere else. Mistake number 2. Racing the clock. Federal rules give a driver a hard limit of driving hours, and when they're gone, wherever the truck happens to be. The rookie treats those final 60 minutes as bonus miles and pushes deep into them, and then discovers that every parking spot within reach is full. Now he faces the worst decision menu in trucking. Drive illegally. Park illegally on a ramp where trucks get hit and drivers get killed, or pull into some dark lot he knows nothing about. The veterans never let the clock corner them like that. They treat the last hour as a reserve, not a resource, and they'd rather end a day 30 minutes early in a safe spot than 1 minute late in a dangerous one. The clock itself never hurt anyone. Desperation at the bottom of it has hurt plenty. Mistake number 3, the car GPS. And this is the one I told you about at the start, the one that seems completely harmless. A driver's truck GPS breaks, or he never bought one, so he pulls out his phone and lets a regular navigation app guide him. It feels fine. The roads look the same on the screen, but that app has no idea he is 13 feet 6 inches tall and 80,000 pounds heavy, and it will happily route him under a 12-foot railroad bridge that has been peeling the roofs off trucks for 50 years. Bridge strikes destroy careers in a single second. The freight is ruined, the bridge is damaged, the fines are enormous, and the driver's record carries it forever. Some strikes have killed people, all because of a free app that works perfectly for a sedan. Veterans use truck-specific GPS units, cross-check against a paper motor carrier atlas, and read every low-clearance sign like it's a personal warning, because it is. Of everything on this list, this mistake has the gentlest beginning and the most violent ending. Mistake number 4, ignoring the small noise. Somewhere around the second year, every driver hears it. A faint new hum, a light shimmy in the wheel, a soft click on left turns. And because the truck still drives fine and because a shop visit costs money and time, the rookie turns up the radio. The veteran pulls over because 30 years of experience has taught him that big failures almost always send small invitations first. The wheel bearing hums for days before it seizes. The tire thumps softly before it explodes at 70 miles an hour. One owner-operator from Tennessee kept a rule he called the 50-mile promise. Any new sound got investigated within 50 miles, no exceptions, even if that meant crawling under the trailer in the rain. He figured that promise cost him a few hundred hours over his career and saved him from at least 3 catastrophic failures on the road. Trucks talk before they break. The difference between drivers is who listens. Mistake number 5, arguing at the scale. Because someday, even if you do everything right, the inspection will come. A weigh station light flashes, or a DOT officer waves the truck in. And how a driver handles the next 10 minutes shapes everything that follows. The mistake is treating it as a battle. Debating regulations, getting sarcastic, sighing and slamming paperwork on the counter. Officers have wide discretion, and a hostile driver invites the full-length inspection, where a truck can always give up some violation, a light out, a worn hose, a logbook question. The veterans hand over their documents organized and ready, answer politely, and fix anything found without commentary. One driver with over 2 decades on the road said he was inspected more than 60 times and walked away clean or with warnings almost every time, and he credited nothing but preparation and courtesy. The inspection is not the threat. Escalating it is. And when you step back, all 12 of these come down to the same thing said 12 different ways. Be the driver, nothing surprises. Plan the parking before the trip. Set up the exit before the sleep. Catch the problem while it's still a noise. Respect the weather, the clock, the cold, and the officer at the scale, and none of them can hurt you. The men and women who mastered this weren't trying to impress anyone. They were just trying to get home. But what they learned about preparation and self-reliance is worth knowing whether you ever climb into a rig or not, because the same thinking applies to every emergency that catches people unprepared, which is exactly why that TerraShell link is waiting in the description below. And there is a video on this screen right now about the 7 rules people who live in their vehicles use to become invisible at night, learned the hard way by folks who slept where they parked. If tonight's video made sense to you, that one will too. Go watch it.